first beer is, we call it Fickle Blonde. The reason it's called Fickle Blonde was because it started out as a certain aroma hop variety and we couldn't get it on our contracts. And we knew beer has to be consistent, and we knew that we would eventually change that hop. So we named it Fickle Blonde because we were gonna change the recipe 1 year after we had released it. And it was just supposed to be a seasonal crossover beer. Very light, dry, but still dry hop to give you flavors of the Yakima Valley. We use Citra in it now for aroma, but when we formulated the recipe, we used Amarillo. Amarillo is the one we couldn't get contracted, so we subbed in Citra, which is very tropical fruity, and but very light.
Cool.
Yeah, it just started out as this beer that was supposed to be, you know, a crossover for the Coors Light drinkers, and it turned out to be one of our more popular beers. This is a seasonal, actually. It's called Golden Soda. It was just purely because a friend of mine in college used to call him Golden Soda, like, hey, I'm gonna go have a Golden Soda, you wanna come with me? It was just a term he had used to describe beer. It started out as a single hop beer last fall that we did for Hollenberry and Sons. It was a collaboration with them, and then I knew after we brewed it, I said, these are the things I changed to make it mine. So when we first used cashmere hops, which is the predominant hop in this, we tasted it, I mean, it was straight out of like a fresh cut strawberry feel, even the vegetative character of it. But I also knew that it was kind of one note, it was just strawberries, and so we threw a bunch of Centennial into it too, which tastes like lemons. And so it's basically like our version of strawberry lemonade, but hop addition in a Pilsner. It is dry hop, so it does have more hop character and flavor in it, but it has that lighter body of a Pilsner. Some of that biscuity malt will come through on it a little bit, but the whole point was to taste the strawberries and more. So the next one is Tiny Dog. It's our session IPA. It's named after our dog. This brewery was built on Field 41, which is, you know, technically a session IPA. It's my wife and I's favorite style, and it's the one style that we didn't have. We didn't brew that beer, didn't create a recipe. So I looked at different recipes for different session IPAs, and some of them were kind of close, but I didn't like a lot of, like, one thing out of each beer was like, I don't like that. I would do this differently. And we created a beer that was how we liked it. Simcoe heavy in that citrus and pine character. I love Simcoe. It's our brewery's Simcoe heavy here. Anyways, I wrote down a recipe. It's the first time I've done this with no testing. We just went with it, 20 barrels, $4,000 in raw materials, and brewed this beer. And not long, 3 months after we had opened, it was done. And my wife came in one day, and she's, not real happy with anything to do with the brewery because she hasn't had a husband in three years while we built it. She sat down and asked me how my day was. I'm like, pretty good. You want to try the session? She's like, yeah, I guess. So I set it in front of her, and she smelled it, and her eyes got big, and she smiled, and she took a drink of it, and she even smelled bigger, and she goes, it's delicious. What are you gonna call it? And I go, it just hit me in a split second. I go, big beers are high alcohol, smaller, tiny beers are low alcohol. It's the lowest alcohol beer we make, 4.2%. And I'm like, I'll name it after her dog. So the last beer on our flight is Farmer Way. It's our flagship IPA. We brew more, like I said, we brew more of this beer than anything. Like Tiny Dog, it's a Simcoe heavy beer. We do use some Mosaic, which is a daughter of Simcoe in the dry hopping profile. And because it's a daughter of Simcoe, they play well together. And so those are the two predominant hops. There's a little bit of Equinox, Warrior, some other things into it, but this is the basis of this brewery.
Yeah.
And that's when we started sending this out to people that were sampling our beers for us, firefighters and family members and things like that. That's when they're like, man, you gotta start brewing more of this. And they started drinking it faster than we can produce it. And then we decided, if we're gonna do that, we might as well get licensed and build a building and everything like that. So that's how, this is the beer that got us to here.
Yeah.
And then these are just, plus the other beers we have are all accents to that.
Thanks for checking out On Tap Brewers, the show that takes you behind the scenes of some of your guys' favorite breweries. If you like craft beer and the people that make it, you should subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay up to date. We drop a new video every Friday, and to hear their full story, check out our podcast, On Tap Brewers.